Good morning, everybody. Hey, it's all hot air. How's that retreat? I know. Can y'all hear? Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. Let me write this in here because I don't know if I'm being heard or not. Let's see. Okay, great. Thank you, guys. Hey, K got a body. How you doing, hon? Listen, I've been hearing some stuff that you know I really cannot get with. Okay, I just can't accept it, and it is unacceptable. Good morning, BMW. Hey, Ursula. It's really unacceptable because we are a culture of various hues, from blue black to fair, look like you're white. Okay, and that's always been the case. In fact, in Louisiana, there was they rated people by skin color, but they were still black. They were like the quadroons, okay? And if a quadroon had a child with a white person, they were called an octoroon, um, but they were still considered black. And on my grandmother's side, on my father's side, they all looked like they were white, okay? Thank you, it's all hot air. They all looked like they were white. And I remember when my father, because they had passed away, when my father showed me a photograph of them, I was like, that Harper, who this woman? I was like, Daddy, who these white people? you know. And he said, that's your grandfather, and that's your his brother, your uncle, your great uncle, and they actually looked like they were white. But guess what? They still had to go to the back of the bus back then. Okay. And I think it's really unfair and wrong for for black people to try to make these kind of divisions and distinctions because we're all black. Okay. The lightest skinned black gets that wake up call when they realize that, you know, they just black as me. And look at me. You would not think there were people in my family who could pass for white. My great grandmother was she was so fair, like she did look like she's white because I have a picture of her, and she was still called auntie, and she still worked on the plantation, and she was like a midwife or something like that. But they called her auntie when they did the obituary in the newspaper. And so these kind of distinctions that some people are making is another form of racism. That's my opinion. Okay, because we have had like look at my thumbnail. That's Rosa Parks. Today, if she came over into this particular sector of YouTube, she would be called an interloper. Come on now. One of the strongest civil rights activists we've had. Angela Davis was light skinned. Malcolm X was light skinned with red hair. Huey Newton was light skinned. So, how are we going to make these kind of divisions and distinctions between um, lighter skinned black people? To me, it's a form of ignorance. Look at Meghan Markle. Okay? Look at her. Her mother was black, her father was white. She married Prince Harry, but they still, she still experienced serious racism. So when we look at our brothers and sisters who happen to be lighter skinned, We don't need to be saying, oh, they're not black, because that's just dumb. And the word interloper, that means you're in somewhere where you're not wanted or considered not to not belong. Well, I welcome all of my light skinned brothers and sisters. I really do. Because we are all in this together. And that's what we have to realize. And that's what we have to understand. There is no distinction. Unfortunately, because of slavery and the liberties taken with the black women back then, um, we had to accept the fact that light skinned children were born, but they were still slaves. And the same today. We should not be, you know, singling light skinned people out as if they don't belong. Because that is another form of racism. And it's black racism. But it's black racism against black people. Now, because people sound like they're not black does not mean that they're not black. I'll give you an example. Sometimes when I have to take care of business, this is how I sound. Hello, how are you today? Does that sound black to you? No, but it's coming from a black woman. Hi, Mysterious Mermaid, Lynn T. So, what we have to stop doing and not allow people to mislead us by calling black people crackers and calling black people interlopers. That is unfair, it is wrong, and it is racist. And it's just as racist as white supremacy. Because the amount of melanin that you have in your skin in this country, unfortunately, we had black slave women who were raped by slave masters. Okay. And the result was light skin. And it pops up in generations and everything else. That does not mean that the person is not black. You cannot say that that person is not black because the rule has always been, um, 1/4 black blood, you black. Okay. And there are people who have been able to pass for white, but guess who always recognizes them? We do. Okay. Right. Exactly. Exactly, Lanty. Yeah. You have to code switch sometime just to, be understood or get your point across. But this term interloper that Olivia uses, that's disgraceful and disgusting. And anyone whom she uses it against is being victimized by racism, by her black supremacy that nobody that doesn't have a certain amount of melanin in their skin or in their voice can't be black. Because as Lynn T points out, it's code switching. And because proper King's English is spoken, you need to be able to speak proper King's English. You need to be able to speak a certain way. And some people were raised only to speak that way. Now, I wasn't. I learned how to speak the way I speak. But guess what? When I'm speaking with my friends and my family, I go straight to Ebonics. You wouldn't even know it was me speaking. But judging someone's voice, and saying, oh, it's not the sound of her voice, it's her rhetoric. What rhetoric? Excuse me? But racism, even if the person was white, how dare we engage in racism when we have been victimized by it for hundreds of years? I don't want to be like the oppressors. and no one else should want to be. And that is, yeah, right, BMW, right. Being articulate is not a color. Speaking white, proper, all right, okay? We have to. That opens doors for all of us. But for someone to hear somebody's voice or see that they're very fair skinned and say, you're not black, that's BS. It really is. Because as I said before, um, back in the day, they still had to go to the back of the bus. I saw it. If you want to look at Rosa Parks' fair skin and you want to call her an interloper, then you're a fool. That's my opinion. And I think that the what we're doing is what the oppressive system did in New Orleans. Okay, when they had the octoroons and the quadroons, and those people, those individuals looked white, but they were still separated from white people as being quadroons or octoroons and this sort of thing. And that kind of division leads to conflict within the culture. And we need to stop. When you call somebody an interloper, who's to say who belongs where? But because someone is fair skinned and they're over here, that does not mean that they're an quote interloper. Because everyone is not said that they're not wanted, and everyone is not said that they don't belong. Just a couple of people. And you can treat someone rudely, but don't do it based upon what race you think they are. So far, I've been able to go anywhere I want to go on these YouTube streets. I would hate for somebody in the do-it-yourself section to say, oh, she don't belong here because she's black, because she's dark-skinned. That's racism, and it needs to stop. Now, the other thing that I wanted to address is Olivia's lying again when she says she didn't say that about Fabe, about Leah, because I heard it in real time. It was late at night, and she said, y'all got me up this time of night, and blah, 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 blah. And she said in the video that she was going to delete it, once she got done cussing everybody out. She said what she said. And the reason probably why Bless Watkins did not delete the video is more likely than not that everyone told her, no, that's what she said, so don't delete it. So, all that lying that she's doing, because she is a liar, and she has lied on me, and I heard it with my own ears. And guess what, Olivia? I ain't forgot it, honey. I ain't done yet, okay? They ain't calling me Miss Papers for no reason. Believe that. But that's a lie. She did say it, and she did delete the video, and she announced on that video that she was going to delete it. Okay? So, she's lying again. And she's lying about light-skinned people being white because of the way they sound or the color, the fairness of their skin. Okay, maybe she's the interloper because we don't need no racist over here. We don't need no black racism over here from anybody. So maybe, Olivia is the interloper, bringing her ideas. Maybe that's why she had to leave the other community. I mean, look at Conscious TV. Okay, he's fair skinned and beautiful, and I think he's in the conscience sector or whatever. Okay, would he be considered an interloper over here? No. Only one or two people are engaging in that sort of disgusting and self-defeating rhetoric. The amount of melanin I have in my skin does not make me better than a brother or sister who does not have as much. But history shows us that those were some of the people who were on the front lines. And what we have to do is call it out when we see it and let them know they're being racist. Now, a lot of people may not like what I'm saying, but I don't care because I'm tired of it. I wish someone would call my grandfather, my great grandfather, an interloper, all that he went through, or anyone else in my family that's fair skinned, because I have fair skinned people in my family now with green eyes. They don't have to get no contacts, you know, and, you know, they know who they are. So hopefully, what I have to say will be considered, and we will stop allowing people to discriminate against Black people. If someone says that they're Black, you know, they ain't got to prove nothing to us. If they say they're Black, then they're Black. It's just like me with the Native American I have in me. Who gonna check me on that? Because my family, we have a Dawes number, all right, that proves we're Native American. But looking at me, you would not say, "Oh, she's Native American." And if I go and go to somewhere and there's Native Americans around, I wish they would say, "You don't belong. You're an interloper." Because of the color of my skin. It's my DNA and what my records show. So I think that we need to stop this and call it out and not listen to it. And I'm sure it has to hurt the people who are of mixed parentage to hear that side of their DNA say, "You don't belong." That's got to be painful. And it's wrong. And there's no way in the world that anybody can sit in judgment upon somebody's DNA and who they are. They know who their parents are. They knew who their grandparents are or were. And nobody can sit in judgment of them. That's very small minded, and it is not intelligent at all, especially from someone who claims to be so intelligent anyway. Okay, that is ignorance. It is the epitome of ignorance. And like I said, it's racism. It's another form of racism. And some people need to feel like they're superior. But that does not mean that you exclude everyone in your culture. You just can't do that. My good friend that I've had since kindergarten, she's very fair skinned. If you looked at her, you think she was Hispanic. But her father was a fair skinned Black man, and her mother was a dark skinned Black woman. And her brother was darker than me. Does that mean she's not Black? No. It doesn't mean that she's not Black, never has been. And when you hear her speak, you'll know she's a Black woman. Not because of what she says, but the way she says it. But, she can move in and out of society like she wants to, but the thing is that she's a Black woman. What'd you say, Linty? Let's see what you're saying. My family too, green, hazel, and gray eyes, and we're 100%. Exactly. So all this interloper BS, it needs to stop. And we need to treat people who are fair skinned, or who sound like they may be white because of the way they speak. We need to not engage in that and accept them with open arms. And just like Rosa Parks said in the front of that bus for all of us, okay, keep that in mind. Look at W.E.B. Du Bois. He was very fair-skinned. He was a co-founder of the NAACP. Come on now. Let's get real. And you must consider the source. And the source is someone who feels, you know, not as good as someone who may have not been able to sit with the cool people, someone who may have been ridiculed. So the only thing that they can say, well, I'm dark skinned and I'm better than you, and you're an interloper. That's someone who has some serious issues of their own that they need to recognize why they're doing it. And you're right, Linty, and they're not woke. Anybody who engages in that is not woke, because we do have to look at, if you're going to look at skin color, then you look at the light skinned people who have been at the head of Langston Hughes, light skin with, quote, good hair. Okay. Paul Robeson never said he was better than Langston Hughes because he was a darker skinned person. And this needs to stop. So when you see people in your chat, or you see them, and someone is saying something like that about, call them out. Speak to them and say, hey. But don't try to exclude someone because of someone else's small-minded bullshit, because that's exactly what it is. So anyway, you all, this was on my mind this morning, and I thought I needed to get it out. And I had to also address, Olivia and that deleted video, or privated. I don't know what she did with it, but I remember it because I was a night owl and she wasn't usually on that time of night. And she was cussing everybody out. And I remember her saying that. So, believe what you will, but I'm telling you, I heard it in real time. And the next day, the video was gone. So you all have a beautiful Saturday. Try to get something positive done. Let's see what you're saying. You said my grandmother was Cherokee Indian, grandfather African American, all hues and eye color. I got my grandpa hue with good hair. Okay, all right. And so when did these divisions start? They haven't always been there, and they're not everywhere. But in this little sector, there's one person leading the charge, or two people leading the charge. Okay, and when you call somebody a cracker that's black, that's got to be painful. It's really got to be painful to that person. And they may want to act like, oh, well, I don't care. I don't bother me. But we know deep down it does. Now, how would you all feel if you're dark skinned and then someone told you you're not a real black person because your skin is too dark? How stupid would that be? That would be dumb. That would be dumb. Hey, Patrice. Hey, Kilolo. It would be dumb and ignorant. So please don't follow behind that. And please don't treat people like that. Okay? If somebody sounds white, like I say, I can code switch, as Lynn T calls it, anytime I want to. I can sound just like a white valley girl. Okay? It's code switching. You speak as, and then some people, like I said, were raised to speak like that. Patrice is light skinned. They're going to say she's not black? Because she show you better she did. Anyway, you guys have a beautiful Saturday. And like I said, do something positive. And if you see this BS out there, call it out. And don't run with it and don't roll with it. Try to be, inclusive, because we come in all hues. All hues. Okay? And we cannot make that kind of distinction. And the same for light-skinned people. They can't make no distinction about us like they're better than us. I rarely experience that these days, but I'm seeing more racism coming from these two people. So you all have, like I said, have a beautiful Saturday. Find something positive to do, and reject in all caps racism. Hi, Circonos. Hi, Naomi. Y'all have a beautiful day, and I will see you somewhere on these streets. Maybe, maybe not, because I got work to do. Okay. Bye bye.